What's the cringiest thing you've seen a bride and groom do for their wedding? The minister, or pastor, used to date the bride and gushed about how wonderful she was. Told the groom, if he ever died, not to worry, he'd take care of her. I was shell-shocked. I so wished I could think of a reason to ask the couple for a copy of the video of their wedding, but couldn't quite find a legit one. I was debating whether or not to share this story. My aunt and her current husband had their wedding at an old movie theater. It started off a little rocky with the officiant wearing full goth attire. They read each other's vows, and after that the groom announced he had written a song about my aunt. He's in a rock band. He then proceeded to play an electric guitar and sing a song about having sex with her, how good she tastes, and detail vulgar sex acts while on stage. Meanwhile, the goth officiant played the drums. Keep in mind both of them have children who are on stage and our family is watching this, including the bride's dad. Once he was done, they mixed different flavors of alcohol into a margarita glass to show that they are now one and made out. My brother and I left shortly after and attended the wedding dinner that took place 4 hours later that was equally as crazy. Safe to say we don't talk to them very much. They bought an apple orchard after leaving the city to live a simpler life. And really doubled down on the apple theme. Apples everywhere, on the tables, in baskets all around the venue, on the podium where they got married, pictures of apples hanging everywhere, small fake trees with apples tossed under them. The dude marrying them had an apple tie on, apples somehow incorporated into every dish for the reception. The cake was shaped like an apple. It was really fucking bizarre. They sold the orchard a couple years later because they had no idea what they were doing. I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. It's a cult. Dating is only allowed to find a marriage partner and was very monitored, to ensure no premarital touching occurred. Worst wedding was a small ceremony. It was literally her family, his family and my family in her grandma's living room. What made it the worst was the 30th kiss at the end. The groom wanted the bride inside his mouth hardcore. There was tongue in and out everywhere, saliva and hot breathing, complete with first date excited groping. Nobody knew where to look for 5 minutes. Well, the groom, my uncle, didn't do it, but my dad wrote "help me" on the bottom of his shoes in big blocky letters, so when he went up and kneeled at one point the immediate crowd had a good laugh. Edit, my dad wrote the letters on my uncle's shoes, not his own. They saved their first kiss for marriage, and when the officiant said "you may now kiss the bride," they stopped the ceremony and made a video blog at the altar about how they just got married and were going to kiss for the first time. Cringe. Went to a wedding in the United States. This was both the bride and groom's fourth marriages to each other. They got married 4 times and divorced 3. They picked a dirty motorcycle bar, not my wedding, theirs, okay, but were openly giving young children alcohol, then laughing at them being drunk. I asked my friend if I could leave when the bride pulled a knife out of her breasts and tried to stab the groom for having sex with a woman while they were divorced. I'm not sure if this is common in New Jersey. Other weddings I attended while in the USA were not like that. Bride, at the altar, refused to say for richer or poorer in her vows. She literally said, for richer or richer, beaming this huge defiant smile. People chuckled, then waited, and she just stood there smiling. Refused to correct herself. People fell silent as they realized she was essentially saying, I'll only stay with you for as long as you have money. Any hardship and I'm fucking out. Groom should have ran then, but didn't. A very religious friend of mine made his wife submit to his leadership in their vows. Also, he was wearing a kilt, she's some kind of a forest elf outfit, and they walked down the aisle to the Star Wars theme, not the Imperial March, the pretty one. I introduced them to each other and I regret it every day.
During maid of honor speech she said, who would have thought just 5 years after sleeping with me, he'd have moved on and married you? As a joke. Well, bride had no idea they had slept together. She was not happy, and ruined the bride's day.
I saw a couple exchange vows before they exchanged vows. They traded wooden cutouts of A and E. It was pretty damn dumb. Bride had a spread of MLM products on a table at the reception and expected everyone to join her downline. My wife's cousin and her husband were SCA, Society of Creative Anachronisms, members. They had a Renaissance wedding at a local hotel. The bride wore a 2-foot-tall cone on her head with the veil hanging from the top. The best man's hat had a feather that touched the ground, and the groom was in full chainmail. To top it all off, there was a 300-pound belly dancer for entertainment. I'm Chinese, so one of the wedding traditions which we called gate crashing goes by where the groom and groomsman have to get past a series of tests or obstacles to prove the groom's love to the bride, my cousin, before he even gets to set his eye on her. The trials are set up by the bridesmaids. Usually the guys will have to drink a cocktail of disgusting liquids mixed together, or do something embarrassing. Not sure how this proves his love, but okay. In this case, the bridesmaids made the guys, including the groom, lick melted chocolate that's smeared onto the inside of diapers, and a test of who can swallow the most out of a banana. Of course, all these are videoed down by the wedding videographer team. I was already disgusted when they posted snippets on Igstory. Imagine seeing the full video played out on screen during the wedding banquet, where hundreds of family and friends, many of those present are elders. The hall was so quiet, barely anybody applauded once the video finished playing. Pregnant bride got stabbed in the belly and groom was shot with crossbows and then shanked. Didn't see it directly, I was late delivering catering supplies. While photographing a wedding, just after the couple was pronounced husband and wife, I watched the groom pull out a wad fake dollar bills from his coat pocket, and made it rain, by showering his bride with the fake money, while she danced down the aisle. Photographer at a pagan wedding. Was not allowed to take pictures during the ceremony, but did watch. At one point the bride grabbed a goblet and a knife, held the knife to her wrist, and walked slowly around the circle of participants singing opera style. I was relieved when she didn't cut herself and make her groom drink blood from the goblet. This was held in an Asian art museum with all kinds of weird masks and artifacts in the room. Reception was at another art gallery. Gluten-free vegan food. Some attendees dressed in formal clothes, some in cyberpunk. Super weird vibe, but the money still spent. Not the bride or groom. The minister did not attend the rehearsal. During the ceremony, the minister said, "Do you?" Whispers, "What's your name again, honey?" Loud enough for the first 2 rows to hear. Chrissy take. Long pause until the groom whispers his name, "Steve is your lawfully wedded husband?" The worst part is that they gave their formal names, Christine and Stephen, but the minister misheard. After the ceremony, and some liquid courage, the groom received a clothed lap dance from his new sister-in-law, stripper, while his new wife cheered them on. I'm all for supporting sex workers, but the awkwardness in the air was palpable. For some reason the gift table was behind, where the bride and groom were seated in the front. While people were eating dinner, bride and groom turned around, and started opening presents. All we could see was them facing away from us tearing through gifts. My cousin and his wife wrote their own vows, and they were all extremely sexual. I promise to pleasure you as long as we both live. My fingers and my tongue are yours. The ceremony ended with "You may now spank the bride." She also had a tearaway dress, and basically stripped down to her underwear during the first dance. My dad and his now ex-wife, who is not my mother, decided to have a beachside wedding. There were 3 activities planned for the wedding, and all 3 ended up being a disaster. But this was the cringiest. My dad and his new bride were to release doves. Except, one of the doves was dead and then the other 3 didn't want to fly out. It ended with my dad and wife pitching birds into the sky. The dead dove, when launched into the air, plummeted to the ground and whacked a guest in the head. Good times. Pizza Hut catering. Didn't even try to class it up, pizza boxes everywhere. I'm pretty sure people don't drive for hours and hours to come eat pizza. It was me. My wedding, we had Pizza Hut. It was a destination wedding in Laguna Beach, CA, reception at the hotel and a conference room. We were young, in love, and poor as shit. The whole wedding cost under $, used $1,000, everyone had a good time, and still they say how beautiful it was that trip. We just celebrated our 10th anniversary. Subscribe for more threads.